By now, you know that GPA alone can't get you into the Ivy League. You need extracurriculars, and good ones at that. Well, you've come to the right video because I'm going to tell you how to come up with unique extracurricular ideas as well as properly executing them to actually stand a chance in the sea of applicants. I say sea of applicants because UC schools alone had over 250,000 students apply last year. That's 250,000 people. Now, why should you listen to me? Well, my team and I at Inspirate Consulting have successfully consulted all our past clients into an Ivy League, as well as other top 20 schools, so we know a thing or two about this process. And if you stick to the end of the video, you'll learn the mindset framework to come up with actually unique extracurriculars custom to what you do. But before we dive right into the sauce, let's slow down a bit and cover why you should even put in the time and effort to create extracurriculars in the first place. As you probably already know, in the past 20 years, college admissions acceptance rates have been plummeting. From 2006 to 2022, admissions rates are dropping 50–80% for schools like U Chicago. Back then, it was common to only apply to a school or two, but nowadays, it's honestly not too rare to see students applying to 20 plus schools. Hell, there was a girl last year who applied to over 100 schools. On top of that, students back then didn't have research, internship, or much extracurriculars in general. All they had was a decent GPA, wrote a quick college essay, and they were in. But obviously those days are gone. But now that the landscape of college admissions have changed so drastically and so competitively, one of the most impactful things you could do to increase your chances is to have impressive and unique extracurricular activities. Imagine yourself as an admissions officer at an Ivy League school and you're trying to choose between two applications. Student A has an unweighted GPA of 4.0 and good essays that highlight her characteristics and qualities. Her extracurriculars are volunteering at a hospital, varsity tennis, and club president at her school's key club. Now, consider student B. She has an equally impressive 4.0 unweighted GPA and is able to showcase her character through compelling essays. But her extracurriculars consist of a podcast that talks about women's rights in impoverished countries with 1,000 average monthly downloads, a club that she founded to directly tutor and help female students in underprivileged communities, and was a board member at student council. Between the two, who would you choose? Despite student A being an already impressive student, student B is the clear winner for me here. With her unique extracurriculars that are tailored towards women's rights and the overall well-being of underprivileged people, she stands out head over shoulders compared to the all too common extracurricular activities like volunteering at a hospital like student A. So now that you actually understand why unique extracurriculars are so important, let me tell you how to actually get these unique ECs. In the case of this video, we'll first use internships and research as a unique EC that you can try and achieve. Why internships and research, you ask? Because for the average school, nobody is doing an internship or research program in high school. So if you were the sole student to do something like that, that could play well into your favor. Now, if you don't have direct connections into the industry of whatever field you want to get into, you'll have to rely on cold emailing, which is exactly what I did when I was in high school. Here's my draft of the cold emails that I actually sent back in junior year. Obviously, I've redacted some sensitive information, but this is the format in which you want to reach out to some of these companies. A major influence for my case was the third paragraph. I said, I'm willing to work for free and do whatever it takes to learn your stack and the frameworks you use, because it wouldn't really be reasonable for a company to risk money on a high schooler with no proven history. And honestly, I didn't really care about the money. All I wanted was to be able to put this on my resume so I could leverage it later on for future internships, as well as getting a good letter of recommendation if I did a good job, which I did. Now, to actually find the people to send these emails to, you'd simply hunt down the emails of key decision makers of companies that have around 5 to 15 employees. This way, it's much easier to contact the head decision maker for that company, which in many cases will be the CEO. I recommend targeting very small companies because if you're trying to send these emails to companies with hundreds of employees, you'd be emailing the CEO's assistant's assistant. It's a lot of tedious work, but it's the reality in finding internships at such a young age. But as you grind through all this mundane work, think in the terms of probability. If you reached out to and followed up with 100 CEOs, would at least a few of them give you a shot? And when they do give you that opportunity, that interview, you better know your shit, because if you're clueless and you're cold emailing just for the sake of putting that internship experience on your application without the actual skills to get the spot, you're screwed. The story is going to be the same for research programs as well. Obviously, instead of CEOs of companies, you'd instead be reaching out to professors at research universities. Knowing what they're already doing research on and putting that into your email will do wonders. Personalizing your email for research is much easier than internships, so use that to your advantage. Now, another unique extracurricular you could do is a nonprofit. Now, I know nonprofits or NGOs have been exploding exploding in popularity lately, but I'm not talking about creating nonprofits just for the sake of having one. Having a nonprofit isn't going to be the golden ticket to a top school. You and your nonprofit are actually going to have to do shit. Have an actual mission for the organization, realistic things people can do within your organization to help achieve that mission, and generally just metrics to help back you up. Whether it's the amount of money you fundraise, the number of members you have, or the amount of communities or people you've helped throughout the nonprofit's lifetime. This is going to take a lot of effort and of course a lot of time. So if you're going through the nonprofit route, don't expect this to be I'll just register my nonprofit and call it a day. No. Well, I mean, if you want to see a wall of rejection, sure, by all means, just go ahead and do that. But to do this properly is to learn how to fundraise. It's to learn how to lead a group of people. It's to learn how to delegate work. It's to learn how to tackle big projects. It's going to be hard, but I mean, did you expect this whole process to be easy? You're trying to get into the top universities of the world here. Of course it's going to be hard. The next unique activity you can try out is an entrepreneurial adventure. Whether it's your own business, a YouTube channel like this, or a podcast, you can take on an unpredictable challenge like these to stand out. Now, I know it's cool to have your own business, your own podcast and whatnot, but similar to the nonprofit stuff that I just talked about, you have to prove the legitimacy and success of it through metrics. For me, although it wasn't at the top of my list of extracurriculars, I had an Instagram account where I would post car edits. I know it's nothing crazy, but it's what I personally enjoyed because I love cars. And while I was doing it for fun, I've gotten over 600,000 views, so that was something I had on the 8th slot or so. It was quite down there, but nonetheless was quite impressive for a simple side hobby. Now, a good example of how to pull this entrepreneurship extracurricular activity off is this year's Inspire Consulting Program prospect, D'Art's coffee stencil business. D'Art is a rising senior from Europe and created this coffee stencil business with a few of his friends. Combining D'Art's graphic design skills as well as his friends' expertise in the coffee stencil industry, they were able to sell their products in most of the popular coffee shops in his region. And not only that, he was recently able to sell his business. So the fact that he was able to sell the business instantly proves that this was a legit business with consistent revenue, structured management, and a competent leader. Before you start typing in the comments hating on this guy, no, he didn't get any help from his family. This was something he and his friends did in their free time because they like the grind. Something can't come out of nothing. Their burning passion to make this thing into reality is what brought it to be. And if you're gonna go down this building your own business route, it's best to have an established track record like D'Art's. Now, if you're a rising junior and you're interested in our selective consulting program next year that works with you one-on-one throughout the whole essay writing process and admissions process, fill out the quick questionnaire below to get yourself into our waitlist for next summer. Now back to the video. For podcast, I've seen lots of instances where they have a podcast tailored for whatever social movement, say the Ukraine and Russia war or women's rights or whatever rights movement, but they don't have any listeners. It's the same story over and over and over again. If you don't have the statistics and metrics to back up whatever the hell you're doing, it means one, you didn't post consistently probably. Number two, what you had to say wasn't important or engaging enough to listen to. Number three, even if the underlying reason to start the podcast was in good intention, that good intention didn't even spread to anyone. Getting results takes lots of time and effort. So don't think of doing these things last minute in junior or senior year just for the sake of padding up your application. That's not how this works. But whatever you choose to do, whether it's to send hundreds of cold emails to CEOs and research professors or to create your own business, YouTube channel, or podcast, give it your all, because this is a challenge worth giving it your all. This is your future you are fighting for, and I can guarantee you there's nothing that could be more important than this to you right now, except family. But that's it. Appreciate you watching. If this was helpful, let me know in the comments. If this was a complete waste of your time, also let me know in the comments. I'll catch you next time. Peace.